the home of the do-it-yourself trucker. When everything goes wrong, you gotta Redneckanize. Well, hey there, what's going on, everybody? There with Redneckanize coming at you. It's a Sunday evening, the very last day of February, the 28th, at 7 p.m. And we got a lot to talk about on the show tonight. We're going to get started with a few of the headlines real quick, just to skim down real fast. It's the owners of Westfield Trucking Company indicted for falsifying records. The Indiana State Troopers kick off a month-long driver crackdown on Friday. And then a frozen water bottle is used to break windshields in Missouri highway, the police say. And then there's a trucking tip that made waves on TikTok. Also, a flatbed manages to right itself after nearly losing it all. Good stuff like that talking about tonight, along with a big debate that everybody's been having in Washington, D.C. And of course, you know, it's a liberal and conservative idea of the minimum wage. And I've heard a lot of things being talked about it back and forth with a lot of people, and I just wanted to touch base on it and give my 2 cents of it. So all that stuff is good to go, and I appreciate everybody listening tonight. You can call in at 516-387-1733 to be part of the conversation. Just hit 1, and we appreciate everybody listening and calling in out there tonight. So the big deal that I saw, because the big deal that I saw was this first article. It was just on the local news, but it's on the top search results of the trucking news Google search. But then you scroll down a little bit, and there's another article talking about the same thing on cdllife.com. And it is the owners of the Westfield Trucking Company indicted for falsifying records. The cdllife.com headline reads, "Trucking company owners tied to crash that killed 7 motorcyclists facing federal charges." So, come to find out, this happened several years ago. And we found out on Friday that the U.S. Attorney's Office in the District of Massachusetts announced that Westfield Transport owner, Dunyader Gasinoff, a.k.a. Damian Gasinoff, 36 years old, has been indicted on 1 count of falsification of records, 1 count of conspiracy to falsify records, and 1 count of making a false statement to the federal investigators. The driver was D'Artagnan. You know, it took me a second to get that. It was spelt weird, and I didn't make the connection until I just kind of, you pronounce it out, and it was kind of funny. It's D'Artagnan Gasinoff, 35, also a Westfield Transport owner, was indicted on 1 count of falsification of records. D'Artagnan was arrested on Friday morning, and then Dunyader is currently wanted by law enforcement. And I think, let's see. Yeah, see, this was in 2019. 2 Massachusetts men are facing federal charges after a crash involving one of their drivers killed 7 members of a motorcycle club in 2019. Now, when I go over to the other article, it says that was the driver. No, the driver is Vladimir Zukalski of Westfield, of West Springfield, and is accused of killing 7 motorcyclists with his truck and trailer in New Hampshire. Nearly 2 years later, leaders of the company he worked for are accused of lying to cover up unsafe and illegal driver behavior. Says court documents show that they also of lying to investigators about falsified documents after the deadly crash involving their employee. So, I was trying to dig down a little bit here and find out exactly what they were doing. It says the driver, a now defunct transport company. After the crash, investigators looked into the safety practices of Westfield Transport. According to federal court paperwork obtained by Western Mass News, here's what they found. Company president D'Artagnan and vice president Dunyader, Damian Gasinoff, are accused of, in part, aiding and abetting the preparation and maintenance of false and fraudulent drivers, daily hours of service, electronic logs. The document said, in part, Westfield Transport's truck drivers routinely exceeded the maximum number of driving hours and on-duty hours. Those are regulated by the FMCSA, but are placed to keep drivers safe. The documents also said that Dunyader lied to investigators about manipulating these logs, and law enforcement investigated driver Zukalski. Yeah, and it says Dunyater charged Friday morning, nearly 2 years after crashed in federal court with falsification of records, conspiracy to falsify records, and false statements. D'Artagnan also facing a charge of falsification of records. He goes, I walk with a cane, so I don't have crutches anymore. My balance is better. My gait's more steady, but it's not. Nowhere I want it to be, said crash victim Josh Morin. Morin is one of the motorcyclists who was injured in 2019. He said the investigation into the company's failure to follow regulations is too little too late. And it goes on and on. They're talking to a lot of the victims and everything. And I just wanted to touch base on this because this was back when I was in charge of the training department for a larger carrier. This was my selling point. This is how you get drivers to come work for these bigger carriers. Although the training practices are minimum at the carriers, and we all agree with that. I do too. I don't think that they're as strength and hardcore as they should be. But I will tell you this, they keep their ducks in a row, which means that anything legal, they're going to make sure it's legal. And of course, there aren't any federal mandated training standards. So, those are always laxed. We all know that. But what we can also agree on is that these carriers, even the good ones and the real bad ones, you're not going to stay in business very long having, unlawful documents or you just by you falsifying records and everything. You're not going to stay in business very long, and something bad's going to happen. So just think, I don't know, it didn't say how many trucks are with this carrier and how many drivers were driving for this company. But when you're with a small company like that has 10, 12, 50 trucks even, one bad accident and falsification of those records, that the company's dead. You're out of a job. So when you're thinking about going to work for these smaller companies, you got to think about that. Now, that's the proof in the pudding as far as getting to know a good company. You see a company been around a long time. You can do research to find out how long that company's been operating, and then of course it's all word of mouth. Drivers talk to each other, so you got to get out there and investigate. You got to ask questions. So somebody's out there going to know about the carrier that you're looking to go into, especially if it's a medium-sized carrier that's got like a couple of hundred trucks. But even the smaller carriers, you can ask around, especially in that local town that they're out of. Usually everybody knows them. Everybody's been around them a long time, especially if they've been operating good and safely for a number of years. You're going to get to know them. But if you don't know them, this is the kind of stuff that can happen right here, is that, they pencil whip the paperwork, they falsify stuff, and then they don't hire the best drivers. You might be the best driver they got, and next thing you know, one of the bad drivers that is out there messing around, and he has a bad accident like this, and then boom, it's a done deal. So that's just something to think about. It's always on my mind, about, is the company taking care of its business, and if it's doing its part to make sure that we're all good to go. We check our books sometimes. We check our permits, we check our log books, and we check the truck maintenance and all that. And, we're responsible, but mainly we consider that responsibility. My whole thing is I do a pre-trip on the truck because I don't want the truck to break down out on the road, because I don't want to get stuck out on the road. Okay. I get it that the law says you have to do that, but that's not why I do it. I do it because I want to be safe. I want to be responsible enough not to be stuck out there somewhere in the middle of nowhere and have the truck break down. So when these companies do this stuff and you're always like at risk, then you got to try to minimize that, because it's going to stress you out. And if you're not worried about it, then more power to you. But I tell you what, you see this happen a lot. Several years ago, it was probably back in 2004, a big truck crossed the median up by Denton, Texas, and ran head on into two pickup trucks. And they were like two pickup trucks working for the same company. One was following the other one, and it was those 4-door pickups it was full of workers. It was like painters or landscapers or something. But it wiped them all out. I think it killed all but two of the people in the trucks, in the pickups. And the driver, he was like, he never should have been in the country. He was not even a legal resident. And the company had like maybe 15 or 20 trucks. And, the big article, after, everything, all the smoke cleared and everything, the big article came out that there were several drivers out of a job They couldn't, so then they go apply, and these other carriers that they're applying for won't hire them because they work for this company that was involved in this bad wreck. And it's kind of like the reputation follows you with you, and they don't want to touch it. They don't want to risk it because they think you're just as bad as all those other drivers for that company when they found out the company was falsifying records and doing all this stuff illegally and everything. So that's just things that happen in trucking. And we have to do a better job of making sure that, we don't go to work for these companies. But it seems to me that this was, I'm just assuming, just based off the last names, that this might have been an opportunity for, immigrants to go to work for another group of immigrants, or at least they might have been from the same country of origin. That way they kind of knew each other and all that. And, I can see that. I can see that those opportunities, because they're not there for everybody. You see that a lot where, when English is your second language and you don't necessarily feel comfortable going to work for somebody that you don't really know or understand, you might lean towards stuff like this. And, I feel sorry for you because you were being pushed by two owners that seemed to be, just trying to make that money, and they didn't really care about the records. So it's a bad thing, and didn't like it that much. It's not that fun. But that's just scratching the surface on it. It made, like I said, 2 different articles on cdllife.com and also on the local news for the Massachusetts area. So that was a big deal. But it's something else to think about. So yeah, we're just rocking and rolling here. You can be sure to check our website out at www.redneckanize.com. And we got a lot of links and cool stuff on there. We got videos, and we've been rocking and rolling with this YouTube channel. It's been a big success for us. We're really proud of it. We're also, we're on Facebook and all that. But if everybody knows us, they know we like to go to the truck shows, and we like to set up, and we like to have fun out there and cook out and relax in the parking lot. And we just found out that all the main shows pretty much aren't going to be until next year. So hopefully there'll be big shows because everybody will be, COVID free over it already, hopefully. So we'll just look forward to that. But we're just going to keep rocking and rolling here every Sunday night at 7 o'clock. You can call in at 516-387-1733. And then we'll be posting YouTube videos about the topics we covered. So and you can also link up to the Blog Talk Radio website and Google Unplugged Radio Network not Google, but search on the Blog Talk Radio website, and it's Unplugged Radio Network. That's where all of our podcasts are saved and stored. So you're going down the road and you hit a podcast and you got 2 hours right there, and you hit the next one, another 2 hours. So it's good to go, stuff like that. So check those out, and appreciate everybody out there listening. And a quick shout out to one of our sponsors, and that's Trucker Tools, the Trucker Tools app. Everybody out there, go check it out, and we appreciate them for supporting us. So I think we should support the companies that support trucking like that. So step away, take a little break real quick, and we'll be right back in just a second.